Hey, this is Zach from the Deerfield Public Library MakerSpace, and welcome to today's video where I'll be showing you how to use our Silhouette Cameo vinyl cutter to make a custom vinyl sticker of your very own shapes and sizes. These stickers can be used on a variety of different surfaces, such as a notebook, a water bottle, a laptop, or even your car. While the list goes on, these are just some of the more common things you may find yourself wanting to jazz up with a little bit of vinyl. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. We're first going to want to assemble the materials we'll need, which for vinyl cutting is a pretty short list of supplies. We of course need a sheet of vinyl sticker paper, so let's start there. There's generally two main types of vinyl that we can use with our vinyl cutter, that being sticker vinyl and heat transfer or iron-on vinyl. For this specific project, we'll be wanting to use the sticker vinyl sheets. I'm going to go and use a nice foresty green for this video, but you can really use any color you want, and that includes funkier looking vinyl sheets that can have patterns on them, glittery finishes, or even holographic effects. Our next thing we need is a vinyl cutting mat, which looks like this big square with a large grid on it. This cutting mat is sticky, which allows us to place our vinyl sheet onto it without it slipping around or falling off during the cutting process. We'll also need this specialized tool that looks a heck of a lot like a dental pick. But don't worry, this isn't for teeth, rather used to remove parts of our cut vinyl that we don't want to be present for our final product. We also need a sheet of transfer tape, which when peeled from its backing is a big, clear, and sticky sheet that we use to move all the elements of our design together rather than trying to place them one at a time. We'll get to the specifics of the transfer tape as we get further into the video, but just know that most of the time, a cut piece of vinyl will likely need transfer tape. And so with all of our materials assembled, our next step is going to be placing the vinyl sticker sheet onto the cutting mat and loading the cutting mat into the vinyl cutter. You want to try your best to make sure the entire sheet of vinyl fits within this inner gridded square on the cutting mat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to be as precise as you can. With the vinyl on the mat, we can go ahead and load the mat into the vinyl cutter. Simply locate this white strip with two arrows pointing towards it on the bed of the Cameo and make sure that the left edge of your cutting mat is flush with this white line. Then go ahead and press the up arrow button on the right of the Cameo, which will begin feeding the cutting mat into the machine ever so slightly. This ensures we can move over to the software without worrying about the cutting mat falling out of the machine. With the cutting mat loaded, we can finally switch over to the computer to start designing our project. In the computer, we're going to locate the Silhouette Studio icon present on our desktop and double-click it to open up the software. Silhouette Studio is a specialized software meant to communicate directly with the Silhouette Cameo, allowing us to send the designs we create directly to the vinyl cutter. When Silhouette Studio opens up, we're probably going to be met with this welcome dialog, which we can just go ahead and close by pressing the X in the top right corner of it. With that out of the way, you're going to see this design space that may very well look quite familiar to the cutting mat you saw earlier in the video. The idea here is that whatever we place within this virtual cutting mat will end up being cut out on the actual vinyl cutter in the exact same place on the physical cutting mat. So let's go ahead and bring an image in and start messing around with it. To do that, we need to go to File up in the top left corner of the screen and click it to open up a drop-down menu. We're going to look for the Merge option and click that, which will open up a new File Explorer window, which we can locate the image we would like to use. You should see it appear after about a second, and now we can start messing with the image to convert it into something the vinyl cutter is able to identify as cut lines. I'm first just going to scale this image up a bit so I can see it better. Then I'm going to locate this tool on the right side of the screen that looks like a little butterfly inside of a rounded square. This will open up the Trace panel, which is a very handy tool that lets us pull cut lines out of a regular image the vinyl cutter otherwise would have no idea what to do with. We're going to go ahead and click this button here that says Select Trace Area, which turns our cursor into this little plus sign. All you need to do now is click outside of your image and drag this transparent gray box to cover the entirety of your image. You'll notice that after about a second, everything within this gray box will turn a bright yellow. The yellow means that the software sees this shape and is going to be able to create cut lines out of it. You may or may not need to adjust the slider called Threshold a bit, depending on the colors of your image, but for this particular image, we don't need to do any adjustments. With the image highlighted in yellow, we can now go and press this button down here that says Trace and click on it. Our transparent gray box will disappear, and from first glance, not really look like anything actually happened. That's not true though, because if we go and drag our original image off to the side, you'll see that we now have a converted copy of it made out of cut lines the Cameo is able to identify. With this, we're basically ready to send it to the vinyl cutter, but depending on our needs or object we're placing the sticker on, we may want to resize the shape just a little bit. You can do that by clicking the shape and dragging any of the small squares on each corner of the design. I don't recommend using the squares in the middle of each side, as these will not scale your design proportionally and cause some weird stretching that you probably don't want. So just stick with the 4 corner squares, which will ensure the design is scaled without any distortion. Furthermore, you can also set the size numerically with these 2 width and height fields here near the top of the page. Make sure this padlock icon appears locked, however, as if it is unlocked, whatever values you put into the width or height will end up distorting the image. When the padlock is in the locked position, whatever value we change in width or height will automatically change the other, ensuring the design does not distort. Okay, with our design scaled properly, we're now ready to send it to the vinyl cutter proper. To do that, we want to navigate to this tab in the top right labeled Send. Don't worry about Store or Library, as we can ignore these. So hitting Send will bring us to this new workspace where the lines of our design will turn a thicker red, and the right side of the page will also visually change to have a variety of options we use to dial in the cut settings based on the material we were currently trying to cut. The specific drop-down menu we want to focus on is the one that currently says Cardstock Plain. This is our Material tab, which is preloaded with many different kinds of materials, which will automatically adjust the cut settings to suit the specific type of material we have loaded onto the cutting mat. For this specific instance, we want to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this list, where we'll find an option labeled Vinyl Glossy. You'll see that some of these different values change the moment we select Glossy Vinyl as our material type. It is super important to set the material type properly, as the wrong settings could result in too little force and non-existent cut lines, and too much force could result in cutting directly through the entire vinyl sheet, backing included, if not also the cutting mat itself. So make sure whatever material you are currently trying to cut is set correctly in the Materials tab. And with that, we're basically ready to send this project to be cut out. Go ahead and press the big Send button at the bottom of the screen, which will begin the cutting process. Now that the cutting is finished, we can go ahead and press the down arrow on the Cameo to eject the mat while holding the bottom of the mat to ensure it doesn't fall to the floor when it gets ejected. Next up, we have the process colloquially referred to as weeding, which is the process of removing all the excess vinyl from our sheet that is not part of the actual design. Hence the term, it's kind of like weeding your garden. We're removing all the ugly bits so that we have nothing left on the sheet besides our actual design. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Great, now that our design is properly weeded, we just have one last step before this bad boy is ready to be applied to whatever surface we desire. Remember the transfer tape mentioned earlier? Here's where it comes into play. We're going to take our transfer tape and cut out a piece about the same size as our actual design and peel it up off the backing so we just have this bare, transparent portion by itself. We're then going to go and carefully place it onto our design and take a small spatula to flatten it out and work out any possible air bubbles that may be present. And with that, we're basically finished. Once your design has the transfer tape applied, you can actually leave it like this until you figured out what or where you want to apply the vinyl. For this specific example, I'm just going to apply it to one of my coffee tumblers. When ready, peel the transfer tape back up, ensuring each part of the vinyl is coming up with it and not remaining on the backing of the sticker sheet. With all of it peeled up, we can then go and apply the transfer tape to the tumbler, and again flatten it out, ensuring the vinyl adheres well to the new surface. Peel the transfer tape back up, and you should see that the vinyl remains on the new object. Congratulations! You've successfully created your own vinyl sticker that you can place on a variety of surfaces. That's it for today's project. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.